One of the most important things to get right when it comes to running your own business is your cash flow. Cash is king. And if you want your business to run smoothly without facing any unnecessary delays because you don't have money to pay suppliers, for example, then you need to ensure that you don't run out. So, what's the solution? Well, you could temporarily lend your business the money in order to bridge the gap. And that means that you can afford to pay your suppliers now. And then, as soon as your customers pay you, you can repay yourself, right? But that is pretty inefficient, especially if this is going to be a regular occurrence because of the mismatch between when you have to pay your suppliers and when you receive the money from your customers. Now, if you're a small or medium sized business, then the better solution is to use a business credit card, which will completely eradicate this problem. Now, you're probably familiar with how credit cards work already, but maybe you're not familiar with how they are a massive benefit to your business's growth. So, here is a summary. Now, every time you have a business expense, whether it's stock, advertising, or anything else, you put it on your business credit card. And the result is that your supplier gets paid immediately, you receive your goods or the service that you've paid for, and your cash is left untouched. Now, the difference between this and paying by bank transfer or debit card is that there is zero impact on your cash balance until your credit card needs to be paid, which can be as much as 45 days later if you don't want to pay any interest, and even longer if you don't mind paying a bit of interest in exchange for borrowing funds. I've had a credit card for each business that I've ever run since I started having my own businesses, and they have been fantastic at not only allowing me to grow quickly, but also at providing a range of other benefits. Now, whilst there are a ton of great credit cards out there, the one that I use and the one that I'm going to be reviewing in this video is the Capital on Tap credit card, which is a cashback credit card aimed at small to medium sized businesses, which is pretty much going to include the majority of people with new online businesses such as Amazon FBA. Now, before we run through my thoughts on the card, I do have some great news for you guys. I have partnered with Capital on Tap so that if you do decide to apply for the rewards card after watching this review, you'll get £100 credited to your account as soon as you make a purchase. And that is pretty generous. It's usually £75. So make sure you don't forget to use the referral code in the description box below once you've watched this review and if you decide to apply for the card. So let's now run through the main features of the reward card that are going to interest you if you are a small business owner. Now, the first is the 1% cashback feature, which is awesome. And it means that for every £1 that you spend on purchases, you're going to get 1 penny back. Now, whilst that might not seem much, honestly, it really does add up over time, especially when you think that this is a Visa card that pretty much every single business out there accepts. Now, me, for example, I use the card to purchase stock, to pay for advertising, to buy samples, and all of that expenditure adds up over time and provides a nice little nest egg. In fact, when I checked my account earlier, I had around £540 that I was able to redeem for literally just buying things that I was going to buy anyways, regardless of whether I had a cashback card or not. So that is awesome. Now, it's no secret that there are many reward credit card options out there, but typically they are American Express, which isn't as widely accepted as Visa. So it means you're not going to have as many opportunities to rack up the points. So in my view, Capital on Tap comes first when it comes to cashback. The next feature that I love about this card is that there are no foreign exchange fees when making international transactions. And the FX rate, the foreign exchange rate that you get, is pretty much aligned to the rate that you find on Google. Now, the free foreign exchange transaction feature has saved me a ton of cash because a lot of the services that I use with my business, they're usually priced in dollars or euros, which means when I put them on my credit card, I don't have to pay expensive transaction fees that I normally would with a debit card or with my Amex. And as a Brucey bonus, whenever I put those expenses on my card, I get that cash back as well. Awesome. Now, as I mentioned earlier in the video, one of the main benefits of a credit card is that you can make purchases without having to immediately stump up the cash, which is great if you run a business where you're expected to pay suppliers before you actually receive income from your customers. So e-commerce, Amazon, etc. Now, Capital on Tap gives you up to 56 days to repay the credit card balance before you actually pay any interest on the balance outstanding. And that gives you a huge amount of flexibility if you do run a business that incurs expenses and receives income at a different time. So there's a mismatch. So, me, for example, as a seller on Amazon, I put all of my advertising charges on my credit card because it means that the money from my bank account doesn't get taken for up to another 56 days, which is great because Amazon doesn't deposit the money that you make from sales into your bank account for 2 weeks. So Capital on Tap does solve that mismatch timing. And again, even better, when I put that advertising spend on my credit card, I'm getting those cashback points and I'm racking up, which you just wouldn't get with a standard debit card or if you just paid with bank transfer or whatever. Now, the other features of the reward card are pretty much aligned to any other credit card out there, so I'm not going to talk about those in too much detail, but at a high level, they include the ability to do a chargeback if you purchase something that's not as described or if it doesn't arrive. You have no fees when you withdraw cash from an ATM within the UK. You get supplementary cards for business partners. It integrates with QuickBooks and Xero and Apple Pay, which is awesome because it means that you don't have to carry your card around with you whenever you go out. And finally, genuinely, the customer service at Capital on Tap is awesome. They've got a little chat bot on their website, and if you ever have any questions or concerns, you message them and someone gets back to you very, very quickly. Now, in terms of downsides or considerations to make when choosing this card, well, firstly, let me just say that my experience with Capital on Tap has indeed been excellent over the 3 years that I've used them. The only hiccup that I had was to do with my credit allowance when I first got started, where it wasn't high enough and it caused me a few problems with payments bouncing, which basically hampered my growth. But after I got in touch with them, they did re-review my account and they increased it, but that did take a bit of time, so I wasn't able to grow as quickly as I would have liked. That said, the Capital on Tap website does state that they provide facilities up to £100,000 in size, but in all likelihood, if you're a fairly new, small and medium-sized business, then the allowance that they give you is going to be quite a bit smaller than that. And I think my starting allowance was around £5,000. So just remember that when you're considering the card and deciding whether it's right for your business and the journey or stage that you're currently at. The second consideration to make with this card is the interest rate. Charging interest on borrowed money is one way that credit card companies make money, and Capital on Tap are no different, right? Interest rates start at 9.9%, which is fairly expensive, and it's going to mean that you end up paying quite a lot of interest if you don't settle your balance in full at the end of each statement period. So my advice and what I do is only put expenditure on the card that you are going to be able to afford to pay in full, to repay when the payment is due, which is going to be a maximum of 56 days later. And if you do that, you won't pay any interest at all. In the 3 years that I've had this card, I have paid nothing in interest. And that's because I've got an automatic direct debit to take the full amount from my bank account at the end of each month. And that is so easy to set up. And it means that I don't pay a penny in interest, but I'm still eligible for cashback, free foreign exchange transactions, and all the other rewards that Capital on Tap offers. So if you do get this card, I would say that's a number one tip of mine to avoid paying unnecessary interest charges. Set up a direct debit and repay the balance in full at the end of each period. And if you do want to borrow money over a longer amount of time to help your business grow, I'd look at other providers who will probably be able to give you more preferential rates. The next consideration to make with this card is the eligibility criteria. Now, in order to apply for it, you need to be making at least £2,000 revenue per month and be based in the UK. Now, this revenue requirement means that you're not going to be able to apply for the card if you're just getting started, which is a bit of a bummer because it means that you're not going to be able to get cashback on maybe your first stock purchase. Now, I do understand why Capital on Tap have made this decision with setting a revenue requirement, especially in the current climate, but it would have been nice to have a slightly lower threshold, say £1,000. But the upside is if you are selling with Amazon FBA or you've got an online business, £2,000 per month is very, very achievable to get, I'd say, in a couple of months. So you don't have to wait that long. Finally, if you are seriously considering this card, then you should note there are two versions, right? There's the free one, which has no cashback, and then the annual £99 fee version, which does come with cashback. And this version is a no-brainer for me, given the amount that I'm spending per month, which easily covers the fee in the cashback alone. Now, at the moment, this fee shouldn't actually bother you because remember, if you sign up with my referral code in the description, you'll get £100 credited to your account anyway. So it's essentially free for the first year. And if you spend £5,000 or more in your first 3 months, then you'll also get another £100 bonus. Awesome. Now, overall, I do think that this is an essential card to have if you are a small to medium-sized business, not only because it will massively help you manage your business's cash flow. Remember, cash is king, but also because of those brilliant features, cashback, free foreign exchange transactions, etc., etc. So whilst there are some downsides with the card, I would say they're relatively minor and they're not really exclusive to Capital on Tap. But with regards to downsides such as the high interest cost, you can easily avoid that. Just remember to set up your direct debit to pay off in full at the end of each month. If you have any questions about the card or Capital on Tap, then feel free to post a comment below and I'll do my best to answer. And as mentioned a number of times, there's a £100 referral code in the description box below, which you just copy and paste into your application form when you're applying for the card on the website. So that is my review. I hope you've enjoyed it. Enjoy the rest of your day and I'll see you next time.